Hello, friends, and welcome to our Sunday streaming services. If you're with us on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to get notifications when we have new videos. If you're with us on Zoom, drop a hi in the chat. We would love to say hello back to you. And if this is your first time here, go and sign our guest book at oakcliffuu.org/guest. Today's sermon is Revisiting Happy Mother's Day with Susan Ammons, Mavis Belisle, and Elaine Wildman. I know Mother's Day, but it is Women's Month, Women's History Month, and they have some wonderful things to say. So, first of all, I would like to offer a big ol' hello to everyone meeting in person at the church today. Hello down there. I hope that you are having a wonderful time together. If you are there at the church, make sure you stick around this afternoon for our Timond concert from 2 to 4 in the gazebo. And if you are watching this from home, then join us today for our Timond concert from 2 to 4 out by the gazebo. It's going to be so much fun. Bring a lawn chair and a snack and come enjoy some live music with your friends, a chance to get out, fresh air, good times, right? So you know you want to show up today, 2 to 4 by the gazebo. All right, March 19th, Craft Cycle Dallas is emptying out a storage unit full of quilting supplies. These things need to be transported. It is for a good cause. It's for several good causes. We benefit, the Girl Scouts benefit, people benefit. It's good times. So if you can help, contact Beth or Kathy. And I hear you might be able to snag a little something for yourself too. For more information, check out the e-blast, because you know that's where all the information is, on the e-blast. In fact, in this week's e-blast, we have information on reopening the church. We have information on our upcoming parish meeting. Think about it. This is going to be a big year as we transition out of the pandemic era stuff. And there's going to be a lot of changes to the church. Also in the e-blast, we have information on the ministerial search, right? Lots of changes happening. And if you want to be a part of them, if you want to help lead us and move us forward in this next year, check out the e-blast for information on that. Workday Wednesdays are in there. TNRing the kittens, that's in there. Widening the circle of concern. They are doing so much great work in there. It's not too late to join. If you want to just see what they're up to, go ahead, check out the e-blast. And our upcoming board meeting, because we have so much to do, right? Gosh, seriously, there's so much stuff in there, but it only takes a moment to scroll through it. It's just nice and efficient right there. Everything you need about your church once a week. This church never stays idle very long, does it? All right, it is Sunday, so stick around at 11:15 for Talk Back, a chance to talk about the sermon and other things with your community. You always get something out of it. You don't have to talk. You can sit and listen, but you will get something out of it. Also, Adult Religious Exploration is at 1 o'clock with Sarah doing science fiction and religion and philosophy. All right, y'all, it has been a while, but we have member anniversaries. I know, so exciting, right? And are they awesome, Alicia? Yes, they are awesome. You know they are. All right, everybody. Happy UUCOC anniversary to Nancy Harms. Yay, Nancy! Happy anniversary. Also, happy anniversary. That's right, we're not done yet. We got 2 more great ones. Happy UUCOC anniversary to Carol Dingley and Lauren Dingley Sanchez. Yay! Happy anniversary to all 3 of you. This church loves you, appreciates you, and just wouldn't be the same without you. And for any of you out there. So to the 3 of you, happy anniversary. And to you and to everybody else out there, have a very happy Sunday.
Good morning. Welcome to the services of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff in Dallas, Texas. We understand that as you prepared for church this morning, you had your choice, not just of a few churches in your area, or even the many churches in your metropolitan area, but of hundreds of thousands of services worldwide without increasing your commute even a minute. We are happy that you choose to be with us. As Unitarian Universalists, we serve and welcome people of all faiths. We're not a creedal church with a set of beliefs to which we all subscribe. We are more interested in how your spiritual journey and your relationship with the divine inform your life and your relationships. As stated in the first two of our 7 principles, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, and we strive for justice, equity, and compassion in human relationships. Let us celebrate together this morning.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love, compassion, and forgiveness.
Que esta luz que ahora encendemos nos inspire a usar nuestros dones y poderes para sanar y no para herir, para ayudar y no para impedir, para bendecir y no para maldecir, para servirte a ti, espíritu de amor, compasión y perdón.
Inward and Outward Freedom for Woman by Margaret Fuller. We would have every arbitrary barrier thrown down. We would have every path laid open to woman as freely as to man. Were this done and a slight temporary fermentation allowed to subside, we should see crystallizations more pure and of more various beauty. We believe the divine energy would pervade nature to a degree unknown in the history of former ages, and that no discordant collision, but a ravishing harmony of the spheres would ensue. Yet, then and only then will mankind be ripe for this, when inward and outward freedom for woman, as much as for man, shall be acknowledged as a right, not yielded as a concession.
Lady of the seasons, laughter in the summer's warmth be near. When the winter follows after, teach our spirits not to fear. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning year. Sister of the evening starlight, in the falling shadows stay, here among us till the far light of tomorrow's dawning ray. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning day. Mother of the generations, in whose love all life is worth, everlasting celebrations bring our labor safe to birth. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning earth.
Please join your voice to mine in affirming our congregation's spiritual covenant. Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. We celebrate life's abundance and service to each other, our community, and the world. We connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together.
And now in Spanish. Porque nos amamos uno al otro, honramos el viaje espiritual de cada individuo. Celebramos la abundancia de la vida en el servicio a entre sí, nuestra comunidad y el mundo. Ponemos en contacto a unos con otros en el amor, respeto y acepción, así que hacemos pacto.
You are not alone with your sorrow, just as I am not alone with mine. Our covenant of right relations makes this so. You and I are bound by our promise to commune. In community, the burden of a heavy heart is shared. A burden shared is a burden lightened. At this time, we invite you to publicly post your sorrows and prayer requests to the Zoom chat or send those to our Facebook Messenger.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
This Sunday, like every Sunday, we reaffirm our promise to one another. Our promise makes clear the call to celebrate, for that which brings you joy, makes you grateful, brings you peace. We, your sacred community, celebrate. We celebrate together and magnify joy, heighten gratitude, and spread ever-increasing peace. Please share your joys publicly in the Zoom chat or send those to our Facebook Messenger or speak those aloud now.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirs of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
It's been a long time since I've done this, and I'm a lot older than I was when I did, so bear with me. 100 women. That's a rather large task, according to my calculations and my instructions. Each of us had about 7 minutes, my cohorts that will speak with you later, to list the accomplishments of the women, and then I was assigned 100. And all I could think of was, I'm going to have to talk very, very fast, so bear with me. First, I want to especially thank Elaine Wildman, whose idea this was, her energy and her enthusiasm. She noted that we did not celebrate Women's History Month in March this year, as we usually do, as it is on the Unitarian Universalist calendar. But she didn't let that deter. While it took from March until May, she's got it here now, combined with Mother's Day. So thank you, Elaine. As I prepared for this service, I reviewed my own ancient history, and it is ancient, of activism, feminism, and motherhood. My first memory was of 1977, the International Women's Year celebration in Houston, Texas. The image of my little boy, less than a year old, he's now 42 to give you some idea, in his little blue t-shirt with the big white dove on it, actually carrying the torch, which symbolized the hopes and the dreams of women throughout the world, that things could change, that the 70 cents on the dollar that women earned, compared to men, would change, that the stereotypes of men as executives and leaders and women as secretaries or housewives could evolve. Where to begin? The cleverest 100, the most talented 100, the smartest 100, the most famous 100, the most notorious 100? That'd be fun. And then I solved the problem. Can anyone guess how? Google. I Googled it. And there I found the most popular 100. They're on the walls here. You may look at them if you have not already, and I encourage you to do so, because there are some surprises there. Some of the names are going to surprise you because they were probably Googled for school reports or history exams or some other bizarre idea. But they're there, and they're women, and they're about us. Lots of the usuals are there. Hillary Clinton, Madame Curie, Mother Teresa, Maya Angelou, Sally Ride, Emily Post, Lizzie Borden, Lucille Ball. She got a fan here, I see. Oprah Winfrey, and the real Pocahontas. Several Unitarians, Florence Nightingale, Clara Barton, Elizabeth Blackwell, Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Julia Ward Howe, who we heard from this morning, to name just a few. I think that's about 20% of the 100, but who's counting? Are you keeping time? You are, probably. But when it was all read and said, 100 didn't seem to be enough. At first it sounded like a whole lot, but there's so many folks missing from the list. And there were some questions raised by that list, too. The most pressing question for me was, why is Madonna number one? She's quite the entertainer and possibly a trendsetter and an activist in her own way. But I began to think perhaps when they were Googling Madonna, they might have been trying to Google the Madonna. But after a little more research, I learned that she recently received national recognition for her lifelong work on behalf of the LGBTQ community, and it made a lot more sense. Times are changing, roles are evolving, and not every woman is limited to either motherhood or a career. Gender roles have become more flexible, and families ever so more diverse. Women now get paid over 80 cents on the dollar for the same job that men do. Sure, it ain't perfect, but it's better. Let's see, 10 cents in 40 years. That shouldn't take too much longer, right? In the remaining 20 seconds, I'd like to hear from you about some women, mothers, some famous, some not, who should be added to that list. Are there any suggestions? Rachel Carson, she's there actually. Michelle Obama, Mary Magdalene, yes. Gloria Suerta. Lucretia Mott, yes. Gloria Steinem. Katie Bauman, the lady who found the black hole logarithm. Christine Blasey Ford. Sylvia Mendez. Yes, Sonia Sotomayor. We can't say some of them. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. How about a simple one? RBG. Yeah! Huh? All right, you're going to have to stay with that one. I can't get that. I have Amal Clooney. I have Venus Williams and Ellen DeGeneres. Yes, now we're thinking. It's hard in the morning. Not enough coffee, I guess. What we've done here is to just take a brief glimpse because we only had 7 minutes. Harriet Tubman, she's over there. To talk about moving the world toward greater equality. In closing, I know this program is supposed to be about women, but I was so profoundly struck by Prince Harry's recent announcement on the birth of his son, I have to share it. He said, "How any woman does what they do is beyond comprehension." And indeed it is. Aren't we lucky to be able to celebrate us?
Well, I have to turn off this one or I'll really be producing an echo. Yeah. The woman I wanted to talk about, the Texas tornado, Louise Rasho. Vivian Castleberry, a longtime newswoman, co-edited this book with her. It's her story of how she changed the Texas laws. She was born in 1919 and grew up in the hardscrabble farm, a German family north of Austin. They really put everybody to work in that in those days on the farms. You know, you did whatever you could. At age 8, she was given the job of driving the tractor during harvest so that the men with their muscles could put the hay, you know, in the bales and do that hard work. The fact that she was a woman didn't make, she was the oldest child in the family, age 8, and she never grew very tall. She was about this high, you know, barely 5 feet. She was little. And so that's why Vivian Castleberry decided the title of the book would be Texas Tornado. She grew up in this German community north of Austin and attended the University of Texas in Austin, where she discovered that the world was not created in 7 days as she had been taught in school. So she promptly left her fundamentalist church and eventually became a Unitarian, where I had met her. After she married Greer Rasho, an attorney, I don't have the date of that, but he served during World War II. They were married before he left, and she discovered, as she tells in this book, he was scheduled to be an officer and have a pretty good job in Europe. And then at the last minute, they discovered he was being sent to the to the Japanese area, a much tougher kind of job. It wasn't until I won't tell you the answer of why she found that was switched. At any rate, when he returned and they settled in the area in West Dallas, some housing that was built especially for retired servicemen, and started their family. When she had 2 children, Greer suggested, well, why don't you go to law school? You're smart. He was an attorney already. So she attended law school at night. 2 children under the age of, well, I think one of them was 2, but 2 small children, had a third while she was going to law school. And managed to do, one of her family members came to help her, but Greer would be working during the day. She went to school at night. On weekends, she would cook up a week's worth of meals so that they could eat. You know, she wasn't going to have time to cook and study, but she made it, excuse me. She made it through law school. And did I mention that she had a 3rd child during law school? And this was the day before disposable diapers, drying machines, you know, handling those little infants, going to law school and keeping up the family. That was a real job. But she managed to finish. Then she discovered no law firm wanted to hire a woman attorney. She knocked on many doors with no luck. Finally, Henry Wade, our district attorney, was persuaded to take her on. I think does anyone remember the name Judge Sarah T. Hughes? Yes. The one that swore in Lyndon Johnson after Kennedy's assassination. I think she did some mentoring of Louise and probably had a connection that Louise got that job. She found that, well, she was handed the stack of cases that none of the hotshot assistant district attorneys wanted to handle. These were the women's problems. And so she learned how bad Texas law was for women. It was inherited primarily from the Spanish Code. You know, we were Mexico before, well, that's another story. But with this stack of dusty cases that the men didn't want to handle, she learned what the women's problems were. And even as an attorney, she had to have one of the men sign the papers that she was going to take to the judge. I mean, our laws were that bad. So she set out to change it. She got elected to the Texas legislature and then managed to get, I don't recall how many terms she had to serve, but she got appointed to the chairman of the Family Law Committee. And she recruited some other attorneys across the state. And in the 2 years between that time and the next legislature, they rewrote the Texas Family Law Code. Before that, a woman, before her marriage, could have built up a business, a very profitable, excellent business. The day after the wedding, her husband could have sold that business and done what he wanted with the money. I mean, that's how bad Texas laws were. And so they finally, after 2 years and many meetings, they got the bill prepared. But, you know, getting a bill through the Texas legislature has many ups and downs and in and outs. I'll just mention one of them. They had gotten the bill passed in the House. The Senate was not so sure. And so she went to see the chairman of the Senate. While this was about the same time that the Equal Rights Amendment was being proposed in states across the country. The BPW and other women's groups who are working on the Equal Rights Amendment thought her approach was wrong, whereas knowing what she did about law, she knew that they needed this, changing of the Texas laws anyway. So she visited the chairman of the Senate to, tell him, come on, pass this bill. He asked her, oh, do those women like it? Oh, no, sir. She batted her eyes. They had irritated him with some of their procedures and pushing on getting the Equal Rights Amendment. Oh, if they're against it, you've got it. And so they passed the Texas Family Law Code in, it was 1962, I think. I've got it here somewhere. But read the book and then you'll check the date. And she said, that law changed so many things in Texas, she couldn't have been elected dog catcher in any county in Texas. It was in the days when they had mimeographs, to change form. They would have to type on a mimeograph and then change all the forms that they used in the courts in Texas. And they had to do that, within a short space of time. She was so unpopular. But that law has made a difference. Has anyone here, any of you mature women, if you went to buy a car, you had a job, wanted to buy a car. If you were married, you had to have your husband agree to it. Anybody get through that era? Well, this changes that. A woman could buy a car and sell a car and do other legal things. Her husband could no longer sell the business out from under her, and many other details related to a family law. So the bill, it was 1967 that bill was passed. So until that time, women were that legally restricted. She and Greer were members of the First Unitarian Church, and she spoke here several times about what she had done. She died in, in 2011, I think. My problem is being able to read. So anyway, this is why, and Judith sang about the Texas tornado, and now you know why you were doing this. She was tiny. I think she was about 5 feet tall, but very determined and very capable and a very smart Unitarian. And so that's the Texas tornado. You can look at the
I think 5 feet is a perfect height for a woman. I'm going to talk a little bit about Elsie Fay Higgins. I'll give a little bit of biographical information because I suspect many of you don't know very much about her, even if you're old enough to remember her. She was a civil rights activist, a Dallas City councilman, and she was born in 1934 in Rusk, Texas. When she was 11, she moved to Dallas with her mother after her parents' marriage had broken up. And she graduated from Booker T. Washington High School here and attended North Texas State College, which is now the University of North Texas. About the same time, she began working in the real estate business, and she became so successful in the real estate business that she dropped her coursework at the university. A couple of years later, she married, had 2 children, a son and a daughter, and she and her husband divorced. During the 70s and 80s, she became involved in a lot of Dallas community activities and eventually became interested in being involved in electoral politics. In 1980, she won the District 6 seat on the Dallas City Council, representing South Dallas. Because she was the first Black council member without close ties or support from the white establishment, her election ushered in a whole new era for the Dallas City Council. She opened the door for other non-establishment and grassroots politicians on the council. After 2 terms on the council, from 80 to 84, she ran for the county commissioner's court, lost the election, and decided to retire from politics. She left Dallas for Houston and spent the rest of her life there. In Houston, in January 2000, Elsie Fay Higgins died from complications from ovarian cancer. I had only one major experience with her. Even though she came often and watched on the sidelines the nonviolence training we were doing and watched us work as peacekeepers, primarily at abortion clinics. She asked us to be peacekeepers at a KKK event at City Hall, afraid some of the more hot-headed, and that was her word, young Black men might seek a confrontation with the Klan. The event was scheduled at City Hall Plaza before the security barriers there were erected, so it was just a big open space. The news media, I believe, although I don't know this, had decided not to cover the event, intentionally not to give the Klan the recognition. But they were there on the far side of the City Hall Plaza. About 200 to 300 were in the crowd, and most of them were young Black men on the east side of City Hall. And they were held away from the plaza by police tape. Police also did peacekeeping by being not visible, or not very visible, but on the far side of the east of the City Hall. They did not make a very, very strong presence. About 200 to 300 in the crowd, mostly young Black men, were held away by the police tape. Police also kept low visibility. There were about 10 of our group. By that time, we were training peacekeepers regularly, were there between the young black men and the Klan. The Klan came out from behind the front of City Hall, marched into the plaza. There were only about 10 of them. Yeah, I didn't count, but that's my closest guess. There were not more than that. Most of them were men in their 50s and had little paunches that were visible. You know, they did look ridiculous, at least from my point of view. They stood there with their big wooden cross, their robes, and their books and their Bible and whatever, did their little ceremony, which took less than 15 minutes, and marched off the stage, marched out of the plaza. Then everyone in the crowd kind of circled around and talked for a while and broke up and left too. What Elsie Fay did during that time was talk to most of the crowd, the mostly young black men. She knew most of these by name and could talk to them about where they were working, where they were going to school, the events in their lives, which I thought was absolutely amazing. If she didn't know them themselves, she knew their families. And that was, I think, a part of the thing that made her a great politician and made her such a great presence. In a way, politics in that community, if not other Dallas communities, changed because of the way she did that. I could not have a picture of her on the screen behind me because of copyright laws, but there is one on the wall behind all of us, behind you all. And if you have a chance, go by and look at it. She's outside the Martin Luther King Center there. Thank you.
Today, as you make your pledge or offering to support this community, let the words of Heather Christensen inspire you to generosity. Individually and together, Unitarian Universalism is a grand vision of a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. That vision is embodied in a few large congregations, numerous mid-sized congregations, and many, many small congregations. No matter its size, every congregation depends on each of its members. Each one of you, by your commitment of time, energy, and resources, helps make that grand vision real. Individually and together, we are Unitarian Universalists, building a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy.
A Position of Self-Reliance by Margaret Fuller. The position I early was enabled to take was one of self-reliance. and were all women as sure of their wants as I was, the result would be the same. But they are so overloaded with precepts and guardians who think that nothing is so much to be dreaded for a woman as originality of thought or character, that their minds are impeded with doubts till they lose their chance of fair, free proportions. The difficulty is to get them to the point from which they shall naturally develop self-respect and learn self-help.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine.